you live in Ohio? Well, the chances are you might be getting abducted soon. And I'm not talking about ICE. I'm talking about aliens. I have this according to Fox8.com. Ohioans have 1.13% chance of being abducted by aliens. Study finds. A new comparative report found Ohioans have a 1.13% chance of being abducted by aliens, with over 4,000 abduction reports since 2019. Ohio is ranked 21st in the nation for alien abduction odds, according to a report from Canada Sports Betting that dove into abduction statistics across North America. Just want to point out two things real quick. I told you guys towards the end of last year how odd I think it is that all these states are now putting out articles about the chances of you being abducted in their state. I have not seen a lot of those. There might be some from the past that I've missed. I look up this stuff all the time. And the past like 4 or 5 months, there's been a real increase in articles like this. Remember, we had one from Georgia. They keep putting these out. Other thing, I am just kind of, I think, disappointed, grossed out in the way we've gamified so much of reality. So many articles, so many people online are viewing reality through the lens of betting now. And, like the poly market stuff and the Canada sports betting. I don't know what that really means other than like we are quantifying all of this data in the world, and everyone's betting on it. And everything now is The Price is Right. Everything is Wheel of Fortune. Everything is reality TV. And I find that to be a major disappointment in the trajectory of our future. It's not to be surprised. I'm not too surprised, though. I'm sure you're not either. But so many things that we see now online come down to who's betting on it and when and why, who's making money off of it. I don't participate in that kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of gambling. If you do, that's fine. We've had here on Inverted World some opportunities to be sponsored by certain like betting type things. I turn those down because I don't want to promote those things. But, that's on you if you like that stuff. But I think the overall like broader view of this is that we've gamified everything. Everything's a game show now. Everything, which is pretty dystopian because you can see where that's going to go in terms of like deaths. Another war breaks out. We start gamifying war. It's going to be very interesting. People like Palmer Luckey will probably have a headset for you to wear so you can pretend that you're at the war and also bet on the murders and what kind of murders, put 20 down on a headshot perhaps. Anyway, for my friends in Ohio, according to the report, which considered data from 2019 to 2024, Ohioans have a 1 in 89 chance of reporting an alien abduction. With a total population of just under 12 million people, CSB found that Ohio has a reported alien abduction for every 11,300 residents. Researchers were clear to note that the ranking does not reflect the validity of abduction stories, but instead tracks the frequency of reports. So it could just be a lot of people in Ohio are just doing a lot of reporting. What are you guys up to out there? What are you up to? CSB analysts said that although Ohio does not make the top 20 states, it stands out for its consistent reports. So congratulations for your consistent reports on UFOs and abductions in Ohio. CSB found there are abduction-style UFO reports across cities, suburbs, and rural areas, catching researchers' notice. People assume these reports are random, a CSB analyst said, but when you map them out, the same states keep showing up, which says more about reporting patterns than anything else. Ohio has several connections to UFO history. This is true. We've gone over it many times on this show. We've had many people call in from Ohio, especially people who've been near this Air Force base in the next sentence. According to a National Security Agency document declassified in 2021, the Air Force investigated unidentified flying objects under Project Blue Book from 1947 to 1969 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, which many people like to refer to as the Area 51 of the East. Project Bluebeam did not find evidence of UFO sightings posing security threats or of connections to extraterrestrial beings, according to the NSA report. Many reports of UFO sightings can be explained by other aerial objects. However, other declassified documents show the French government explored 11 UFO cases and concluded 10 of them could not be explained as a natural phenomenon or human device. The CSB data also differs from unidentified flying object data. According to the National UFO Reporting Center, Ohio had 3 reporting UFO sightings in January, none of which were abduction reports. There were dozens of UFO reports from 2025. On January 22nd in Toledo, 2 people reported an orange fireball-like UAP in the sky, which the center marked as a possible Chinese lantern. Who knows? Or maybe it was a weather balloon. The other 2 January reports did not have explanations associated with the claims. On January 13th, in Hilliard, an aviation expert reported a dark shadow move across the sky and a disappearing star, roughly in the direction it traveled. And the day before, on January 12th, 3 people in Chillicothe, I hope I said that right, my friends in Ohio, reported a disc-looking craft flying close to the tree line with rotating blue orbs. NASA launched a study of unidentified anomalous phenomena in 2022, researching events in the sky that cannot be explained by natural or human causes. NASA reported there is not enough data and high-quality observations to make any definitive conclusions. It was about a year later that NASA held that press conference asking everybody to look at the sky and film it more, to give them more data. Now, for our friends in Vermont, I wanted to share this. Let's go here. UFO task force eyed as let me repeat that. UFO task force eyed as lawmaker warns of strange objects in skies and water defying technology. A Vermont lawmaker is setting his sights on the skies with a new bill poised to create a UFO panel within the state. Rep. Troy Hedrick, independent from Burlington, has introduced legislation looking to set up the Vermont Airspace Safety and Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Task Force, according to the Vermont Digger. Great name for a news outlet. The bill reportedly proposes the creation of a state task force to investigate reports of both unidentified aerospace and underwater objects, assess safety risks regarding airspace, and work alongside federal partners and researchers to discover improved policies. The task force would be composed of officials from Vermont's Departments of Transportation and Public Safety, while also also opening up seats for lawmakers and experts on the topic. This is a quote from Hedrick in the Vermont Digger. I am not a subject matter expert at all. As policymakers, I think we have an obligation to remain attentive to emerging trends in public safety. According to the bill, H654, the panel would investigate reports of any unknown objects that exhibit, and this is a quote from the bill, performance characteristics not consistent with currently understood technologies, such as instantaneous acceleration, absent observable inertia, or hypersonic velocity without a corresponding thermal signature or sonic boom, or as I like to call it, things that Peter Thiel is funding and Palmer Luckey's building. Hedrick initially introduced the legislation at the request of a constituent, lobbyist Maggie Lenz, according to 7 Days Vermont. And here I'm scrolling past an image, the same AI-generated image of a flying saucer that Fox News uses in every UFO article they put out. Lenz, who is the owner of Atlas Government Affairs, reportedly became interested in the issue after a string of UAPs, or unidentified anomalous phenomena, made headlines throughout New Jersey in 2024, sparking nationwide panic regarding countless mysterious flying objects. I'm certainly not saying that it's aliens, Lenz said, according to the 7 Days Vermont, but I do think just having the conversation here in Vermont will begin to allow for it to be taken a little bit more seriously. The proposed legislation replicates the federal government's response to UAPs in recent years following Congress passing the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act in 2023 and the U.S. Department of War's creation of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. The draft bill indicates that Vermonters have reported UAP sightings to police in various instances, signaling a need for a coordinated response between state and federal officials. While speaking before Vermont's House Government Operations Committee last week, Hedrick offered a more down-to-earth reason behind the proposed bill, pointing to the surge of drones throughout the state. The proliferation of drone use, this is where I see the need for data, Hedrick told the committee, the Vermont Digger reported. Funny thing about that sentence, that quote from the representative, so I think a lot of the drones are from Palantir and Palantir adjacent type companies, and those companies are also feeding on data. So it's like the Ouroboros, right? The snake that eats itself. That's all this is. That's all the government is. It's all just a snake eating itself. Hedrick did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital's request for comment. While the proposed bill has yet to be voted on by the committee, Hedrick reportedly tried to sweeten the deal by promising to look into Vermont's famed sea monster if the legislation passed. Amazing. Looks like I got to take a trip to Vermont. I love Vermont. This is a quote now for him. And I like this. This means this guy's into it. For the cryptid fans in the room, there's an underwater provision to this as well, he said. So if we want to investigate Champ, we can do that. All right. They didn't add anything about Champ here in the article, but we might as well look it up real quick before we move on, hey? Anyway, while I'm looking this up, thank you all, as always, for showing up, for being here, for liking, subscribing, for commenting. Appreciate all the comments last night. You guys are the best. All right, here. All right, the first thing that came up was a bunch of like baseball teams in Vermont. All right. In American folklore, Champ or Champy is the name of a lake monster said to live in Lake Champlain, a 125-mile-long body of fresh water shared by New York and Vermont with a portion extending into Quebec, Canada. The legend of the monster is considered to draw for tourism in the Burlington, Vermont, and Plattsburgh, New York areas. I love it up there. It's really cold, but and my old bones cannot do much more of these cold days. But I love it up there. It's so beautiful. Over the years, there have been over 300 reported sightings of Champ, and there's an almost identical Loch Ness Monster picture for the picture of Champ, which they call the Mancy photograph from Lake Champlain. It is almost identical. So obviously, they're related. We all know that. Oh my goodness, my computer is just about to explode. The original story is related to the Iroquois legends of giant snakes, which the Mohawk named Anarikoa. French cartographer Samuel de Champlain, the founder of Quebec and the lake's namesake, is often claimed to be the first European to have sighted Champ. In 1609, the earliest source for this claim is the summer 1970 issue of the magazine Vermont Life. The magazine quoted Champlain as having documented a 20-foot serpent, thick as a barrel, and a head like a horse. Head like a hole. There is no evidence that Champlain ever said this, although he did document large fish. This is a quote from Champlain. There is also a great abundance of fish, of many varieties, among others one called by the savages of the country shafaru, which varies in length, the largest being, as the people told me, 8 or 10 feet long. I saw some 5 feet long, which were as large as my thigh, the head being as big as my 2 fists, with a snout 2.5 feet long, and a double row of very sharp and dangerous teeth. Its body is, in shape, very much like that of a pike, but it is armed with scales so strong, and a poniard could not pierce them. Its color is silver gray. Amazing. The 1878 translation of his journals clarifies that shafau refers to gar or gar pike, specifically the long-nosed gar. It's a great name for a fish, by the way. An 1819 report in the Plattsburgh Republican entitled Cape Ann Serpent on Lake Champlain reports a Captain Crumb sighting an enormous serpentine monster. All right, we got through a lot of this. I want to move on, though, because I do have a lot of Epstein stuff I want to get to. But before that, I wanted to make sure that I hit up these two things as well, UFO related. This is from 3 days ago in the New York Post. UFO intel documents stolen out of Russia reveal decade-long probes. I spilled on myself. Day drinking coffee too much. You like that? I'm leaving it in. Reveal decade-long probes into alien encounters. Oh, man. Landmark UFO documents smuggled out of Russia 30 years ago and just now publicly revealed show the Soviets investigated thousands of reports of extraterrestrial craft and encounters with aliens. Legendary reporter George Knapp, 73, quietly released on January 16 documents he smuggled out of Russia in 1993 under the nose of the KGB after the fall of the USSR in 1991. I was pretty gangster if that's true. George Knapp testified last year before, I think it was Congress, maybe Senate, but he believed that the government was in possession of extraterrestrial, he called it like biology. So he didn't really specify what that meant. A lot of people interpreted it as being a life form or a body, but it could also have meant something like some technology that had some biomechanics within it. I don't know. But I like listening to George Knapp. The translated documents reveal the shocking extent to which the USSR and the post-Soviet Russian Federation probed. I'm not going to take another drink again. I have a hole in my mouth, obviously. The persistent phenomenon, despite the communist government officially deeming UFOs a concoction of warmongering American imperialists in 1953. Fascinating. Why wait this long? This is what I'm getting to with the next article. It's like, what is this building towards, right? Like, why are there more articles about all these things? Why are we having so-called disclosure? Why is there the Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg commercial on the Super Bowl? What are we building towards? Is there something? Are they giving us the Epstein things now as a distraction because they're building something stranger, Project Bluebeam wise-ish in the background? Is Knapp part of it, or is he useful in all of this? I don't know, but that's how I see these things. It's like, why now? We've seen the taboo stripped away from the UFO narrative. It's more mainstream now. You can talk about it now. A lot of different news outlets talk about it. The Fox News is reporting on it. I'm a little suspicious of it, like why they've been peppering these stories in. I think it is a form of predictive programming. I think it is a form of getting us all ready. It's like microdosing everyone into the reality, the fake reality of what they want us to buy into later this year. This summer, next year, who knows? But I'll read more from this article. The USSR commissioned several studies of UFOs, beginning with the Network AN program in 1979, continuing with Galaxy MD from 81 to 85, Pluton 7 in 89 and 90, and the continuing Thread 3 program. We have one photo here. It's a photo negative of the jellyfish UFO that was witnessed by hundreds on February 13th, 1989, above the city of Nalchik. I always also like when breaking news comes out and it just so happens to align with the time, like we're almost at February 13th. It could be nothing, but having freelance for so many places, so many editors will tell you they only want to publish things that like match the day. You know, like, why is this relevant? And they'll be like, oh, well, you can say, well, we'll publish it in February because it has a February lean to it. I always thought that was weird. I just like, if it's a good story, it's a good story. Let's just publish it. But they're always looking for some angle so they can put ads all over their stuff that no one clicks. The 1993 report claimed UFO sightings and interactions increased greatly after 1978. The document included many narratives of purported UFO abductees and witnesses which the government deemed credible enough to warrant further investigation, including these. On February 13th, 1989, hundreds of people witnessed a massive 450-foot wide jellyfish-shaped UFO flying 300 feet above the ground in the city of Nalchik between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. A massive red light was seen descending over the city, then splitting into equidistant green lights. After 10 minutes, the lights merged and descended into the sky. 90 minutes later, the massive UFO descended on the city with a smaller, more agile craft, also swarming before disappearing into the night sky. Among the witnesses were military members, local airport staff, and astronomers. Anatoly Malyshev, So Russian, 18, claimed he was brought on board a craft on July 21st, 1975, and flown to the home planet of the alien pilots. Malyshev was sketching the sunset in the woods of the village of, not even going to try to say it, a town in Russia, in the same Kabardino-Balkan region, where when he saw what looked like a meteor falling from the sky. A silver disc appeared and 3 humanoids, including one woman with chestnut-colored hair, emerged. Their planet was 3 light years away and had no star, but was illuminated from within. Excuse me. This is a quote now. They fastened detectors to my hands and legs and put on my head something like a crown. Their conclusion after the examination, another quote here, very strong nerves, mental faculties below the average. That's hilarious. Aliens are like, he might be retarded. Send him back. The Russian investigator said he continued contact with Malyshev for years and described him as an honest, kind, and sympathetic with no desire to indulge his fantasy, and also said his mental faculties below average. No, he didn't. He didn't, sorry. Earthlings allegedly came into contact with a race of giant aliens on June 27, 1979 in Kazakhstan. A group of pioneers, including many children, were traveling from Berezka when they stopped to camp near a mound. One group of boys, escorted by an adult, chased a flash on the edge of a forest and came upon a 10-foot-tall, black, slender aliens with shining pink eyes. I was going to do an NBA joke, but we don't need to. We'll just let that sit there. The next day, a girl and her teacher saw one of the giants sitting in a chair near the campsite. Nearly a year after the incident, investigators spoke to the children and reported they all had the same recollection of events. The documents drew no definitive conclusion on UFOs other than to say they warranted further study. I thought I saw something in the sky real quick, but it was just the reflection of the light bulb above my head. By releasing these documents now, George Knapp is expanding the public record, showing not only how seriously Russia confronted the UFO phenomenon, investigative journalist and Knapp's weaponized podcast partner Jeremy Corbell told the Post. I didn't know that. Didn't know Jeremy Corbell was involved. You want to hear a little Jeremy Corbell tidbit? I'm going to say this here. This is secondhand information. This is why I've never really trusted him. I'm saying I didn't really trust him before I heard this, but I heard this directly from someone on a committee, on the UFO committee, that Corbell threw a tantrum because they took out like a promotional ad from his files that he handed in to be entered into the record. It was like a promotional paper for his like movie or something, and like he threw a hissy fit. And so I had already not really found him to be credible. There's there's something about him. You know, some people look at me like his forehead's weird. I don't get it. His eyes might be crooked. I get it. Look, you just look at someone, you're like, I don't know. For him, that's my case. I just don't understand something about him. You know, I saw Rogan recently say that he thinks some people have been on his show were like, I don't know what word he used. I forget, but it was like something like feds, you know, or someone pushing a narrative. And first person I thought of was Corbell, you know. And the people on the committee, I heard through the person on the committee, were not happy with Corbell doing that, like throwing a tantrum. Like, dude, if you care about disclosure and you believe in this stuff, we're not here to like promote your next thing, right? I'm not going to go to the hearing and wear like an Inverted World shirt or put like a pamphlet for Inverted World in their thing. I'm there because I want to tell a story. I want it on the record. I want the public to know, and maybe that will bring more people, allow more people to feel comfortable to come forward. Like, I don't know. That's just me. I am below mental average, as the aliens say. So I think all this stuff is leading up to something, some story, some narrative, something they're building behind the scenes. To me, I do think it's some sort of alien disclosure thing that I think will be fake. I think they're going to try to sell us on something that is not believable, that to me won't be believable. You know, you're all free to believe what you want. But now we have these reports coming out the past like week or two about Donald Trump's going to disclose UFO information. So I saw this in the Mirror from today. Donald Trump's UFO bombshell speech is ready to go, as insiders say it's a matter of urgency. Fresh claims have emerged suggesting President Donald Trump may be preparing to deliver a bombshell speech revealing decades of alleged UFO evidence to the public. The claims originate from Mark Christopher Lee, a British writer, director, producer, and self-described ufologist who says he was informed by, and this is a quote now, an advisor to the Trump administration, that Trump has received permission from fellow world leaders to make an official announcement regarding unidentified flying objects. I don't buy it. You know, if I were president, I would be addressing the public about the billionaires and the elites and politicians that might be eating babies, that might be collecting your DNA, that are planning wars and plagues. I would address the nation on that, because that is the evil nature spilling out of the Epstein files. We're seeing them talk about it. They're discussing it. People are resigning. People are apologizing. People are getting arrested in other countries, not ours, obviously, because we're run by Luciferian pedophiles. I would be addressing the nation about that. I would be creating my own form of Nuremberg trials. I would have on this, the 250th birthday of America, I would, like I said last week, turn the Iowa State Fair into the Nuremberg trials, and I would cancel all the sports stuff. I'm sorry for sports fans. I used to like watching the Super Bowl. I haven't in a long time. No beef, nothing. I like sports, but I would take those over. So it'd be state run for just a little bit, because I'm going to be a tyrant. All right. I'm going to be a tyrant for just a little bit to get rid of the Luciferian satanic child eating cult of pedophiles that run the country, to broadcast the Nuremberg trials. I will also throw into those trials, I promise you, anything related to warp speed. So that includes Trump. Trump can go there from Epstein. He can go there for warp speed. Fauci, obviously. Everybody. Cuomo, Whitmer, everybody. Bannon, everybody. I don't care. I don't like what I'm seeing here. Zuckerberg, Thiel, Altman, Hoffman, Musk. Everyone's going to the Nuremberg trials. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It would be. It would be great. That would be great for national unity. Instead, Trump is going to sit down and give us a bogus story about aliens. Does this not seem fake to everybody? Am I alone? Look, I think we're surrounded by something strange, obviously. Obviously. You know, I see them as demons. We can have our different interpretations of what is going on. I think a lot of the stuff we're seeing in the skies that we can't explain is also being built by man. Men that might be possessed by demons. Palantir stuff, you know. But there's something else. Something is happening. There's something very bizarre in the skies that people see that we can't explain. It might not all be man-made. But I don't buy this. According to Lee, the address would expose the truth behind decades of evidence concerning unexplained aerial phenomena, materials recovered from alleged crash sites, and military eyewitness accounts that he maintains bear no resemblance to any known human technology. But it could be ancient civilization technology that we don't know about in this civilization, which I think is the case. He will confirm that forensic analysis of recovered off-world vehicles, all right, we'll go back to that in a second, and non-human biologics has established their extraterrestrial origin, Lee stated, describing the speech as, a quote now from him, the first official acknowledgement of this reality by any world leader. Now, off-world vehicles, long-time listeners of the show will know that I quite often reference the New York Times article from like 7 or 8 years ago that mentioned that we were in possession of off-world vehicles. That story just disappeared, just died, no one cared. I mean, it didn't disappear, just any interest in it disappeared. And I'm like, they're just writing down in the paper of record, which we know the paper of record was also puppeteered by Jeffrey Epstein from all the emails we've been reading. What is that about? I mean, we know also Epstein was highly interested in UFOs and the scientists around it and different experiments. Is that connected? Is there a deeper tissue connecting Epstein and the UFOs? Or is this going to be a cover story to try to divert our attention? I don't know. The address was initially scheduled for the United Nations General Assembly in September, Lee revealed, but has reportedly been rescheduled to mark the 79th anniversary of the Roswell incident on July 8th. So I just want to let you guys know the very nature of reality and the way you view it and life as we know it. We're going to hold off until July, okay? We're gonna talk about it. It might be a reality. You know, Laura Trump, after she's done making her hip hop videos, will tell you on her show that maybe Trump, I heard he's gonna do a speech on aliens. But we're gonna wait till July because we wanted to line up with Roswell. If this was that important, this should be like a today thing. But we should be talking about Epstein today, if you're the president. We should be talking about how there's so many evil people involved in our government. But he just wants you to move on to aliens in July. All right. Okay. Two more quick things. I just want to run these by you before I'm going to attempt to take a sip of coffee. I'm going to move my microphone out of the way. Using my old school microphone that I recorded all the audio for the first 2 seasons of Inverted World Live on. Hadn't seen this thing since the 2nd season. Shout out to Alex, who edited all of those episodes. I don't know why I found this fascinating. Maybe it's because some of the video footage I saw, but the first one here is wild. Anarchists claim responsibility for rail sabotage during Italy's Olympics. Did you see this? This is from February 9th. An anarchist group claimed responsibility on Monday for sabotaging rail infrastructure in northern Italy on Saturday and disrupting train traffic on the first full day of the Winter Olympic Games. Remember those? You guys talking about those? Is anyone talking about the Olympics? Police reported 3 separate episodes at different locations early on Saturday, which caused delays of up to 2.5 hours for high-speed and regional services, particularly around the city of Bologna. Yeah, that's how I say it. Bologna. The router's inside track newsletter is... Okay, that's just an ad. No one was injured. That's what I get for making fun of baloney. No one was injured and no trains were damaged. In a statement circulated online, an anarchist group said a progressive crackdown on demonstrations by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni had made confrontation on the streets ineffective and meant they had to find other forms of protest. It therefore seems necessary to adopt clandestine methods, decentralize the conflict, and multiply its fronts, and turn to self-defense and sabotage in order to survive the times ahead, the anarchist statement said. There was no immediate comment from the police on the statement. Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini, who heads the Transport Ministry, vowed to catch the anarchists. And she says they'll do everything they can. Okay, I'm going to skip that now. Go to this other one. Oh, that's too bad. The link killed itself. Anyway, I don't have to read the article, but there was another thing in Italy. I think it was yesterday. Did you see this video? It's wild. A heist. It looks like I think it was a money truck. Bunch of guys in like white, kind of like, not suits, but they were in all white like outfits or all black, some in all black outfits, masks, guns, in traffic on a highway, parked in front of this, I think it was like a money truck, and blocked it in. Traffic now started behind it. Guns out. They blew open part of the door. It was wild. It was wild. I haven't seen anything like that in the news in a while. Anyway, how about we get into some Epstein files? I saw this from Dana Duda, at Dana Duda on Twitter. She says, I regret looking. Jeffrey Epstein was a large donor to Best Friends, a.k.a. the Process Church of the Final Judgment. Partner was talking about research to keep dogs alive for 100 years. Now get this. Let me see it. American Airlines has agreed to continue its popular Pets and Wings program in collaboration with the Humane Society of St. Thomas, St. John, and the USVI. Oh, up top, it's labeled Jeffrey Epstein, philanthropy investor, endorses American Airlines partnership with the Humane Society. The partnership is endorsed by one of the largest investors in the U.S. Virgin Islands and a financial support of the Humane Society. The Pets and Wings program allows any traveler booked an American Airlines to chaperone a local shelter animal from the U.S. Virgin Islands to another shelter in the United States. Since the program began 2 years ago, more than 150 animals have been flown out of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Save a Dog, Angels Helping Dogs. You've seen all this. The Pets and Wings, you know what it's about. The Pets and Wings program is a welcome resource for the Humane Society at St. Thomas and St. John, which has more homeless dogs and cats than it can possibly place in adoptive homes. Furthermore, an estimated 60,000 to 100,000 stray cats and dogs populate St. Thomas alone. In the U.S., that number goes up to an estimated 160 million, and more than 10 million dogs and cats are euthanized in the U.S. every year. And then this, she had the link here. I lost the link here. Where is it? Here it is. This is from Soon Yi, who I believe is, I think that's Woody Allen's daughter wife. This is to Jeffrey Epstein on October 15th, 2014. There are some wild emails from Soon Yi to Jeffrey Epstein. Wild emails. There's ones about her emailing him, talking about her sitting there typing out the email while wearing her Hitler hat. It's wild. She's talking about like blaming the 15-year-old girls in, I forget which case that was, but check this out. From Soon Yi. Now, I think Woody, that's Woody Allen, would really enjoy meeting my bio wizard. This actually might be from, this is from Epstein, I think, to her, who has figured out the way to keep dogs alive for 100 years or more, separate from Woody hating dogs. Yeah. There is a hope to be able to greatly extend human life within a decade. I will set a dinner. Could you find out if today would be a good movie lesson day? And the response being from Soon Yi to that message from Jeffrey Epstein, we will check to see if today is possible for you to see the movie tomorrow. I will have Jeannie get back to you. So just imagine a 100-year-old dog. These guys were up to some wild experiments. Can only imagine. All right. Still recording here, right? Still recording. We're here. You guys are here. That's good. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Before I move on, I do really want to get callers in, even though we're doing it like this for now. If you've got a story, anything, you want to talk about Epstein, you want to talk about UFOs, you want to talk about simulation theory, you name it, cryptids, whatever, please hit me up. Instagram or Twitter is usually the best. And we'll try to find a day, like a time during the day if you can. I know it's hard during the day for a lot of us. And I will record those and include it in the episode. So if that's you, or you just want to talk about anything, you can call in about whatever, honestly. It should be nice to hear from everybody. That would be great. We'll do it through Zoom. And I'd love to do that. So I'm also working on trying to get guests in as well, and just trying to do a little bit more here, expand it out, keep growing. But you guys have been a massive support and super appreciative. But keep it in mind, if you have something you want to say, something you want to share, hit me up. We'll find a time for you to get in. I'll send you the link. We'll do it. All right. This is from Mario Nawfall, and I am beginning to sour on him. I know I've been nice the past 2 days, but I have noticed one thing. Remember, the reason I was not a fan is because he seemed to be someone who would do anything to cover up or help boost whatever message Elon wanted. So kind of like a Ian Miles Chong version, but like in a black suit. And as I'm seeing Elon really rail against Bannon for what we're seeing with Bannon in the files, because obviously those who don't like each other, and I'm not happy with the Bannon stuff, Elon's doing it to cover up his own problem. I mean, this dude's in the files. He's talking to Epstein post-conviction. He wants to hang out and wants to party. He's at dinner with him. We have the pictures. So he's not innocent. I don't know if he did the really bad stuff, but he's trying to make it sound like he's innocent. And he's like, I'll pay for this and that, which is nice. But he always does this. When there was free speech issues with censorship and Twitter. He said he'd do this, paying for stuff. I saw him ignore lots of people who had issues, and he never, followed up. As far as I can tell now. Correct me if I'm wrong if you saw something different. Look at him crashing out the H-1B situation 2 winters ago. He is a fraud, and he uses people, big accounts like Mario Nawfal, to help push out his whatever narrative is going to help Elon. So, Mario's doing a lot of good stuff with these files, but he is also neglecting to point out the Elon Epstein stuff. And there is stuff out there. And anyone trying to write off the ban or write off the Elon stuff, it's just not going to float, man. You can look at these things. Look at what they're saying to each other. It's weird. It's weird. Mario said this. A little background on Lex Wexner. And this is more relevant now because, yesterday I did say that we are going to hear a testimony from Wexner at the end of this month. But now, last night, Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna got to take a look at unredacted files. And one of the things they said was that it seems to Massey that Wexner was a co-conspirator. Probably not very surprising for anyone who's been following along. But it's that confirmation bias I keep talking about where it's like, okay, there it is. Now, is it real? This is why we need interviews, right? This is why we need public testimonies. We need to be able to determine by looking at them, hopefully in real time, how they're responding, how they're not responding, stuff like that. Anyway, Master said he appears to be a co-conspirator. Wexner is the founder of L Brands, parent company of Victoria's Secret. He gave Epstein power of attorney over his finances and gifted him the largest private home in Manhattan. Accusers have long claimed Epstein used Victoria's Secret as a recruiting tool, with associates posing as modeling scouts to lure young women. For years, Wexner avoided scrutiny while Maxwell took the fall alone. He is now officially listed as a co-conspirator alongside Ghislaine Maxwell. The redactions were protecting him, and now we know why. Look at this. Wexner is all over these things. We've never seen him speak publicly about it. I'm as eager to hear from him as I am the Clintons. But of course, they'll probably find ways they'll plead the fifth, and we won't hear anything of note. But we got to get him in there anyway and try our best. The other thing Massey revealed, and this is from Red Panda Koala, shout out to them, great Twitter account. He revealed that Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem sent Jeffrey Epstein that torture video. Remember we talked about someone saying they enjoyed the torture video through the emails between Epstein and someone who was redacted? Well, that turned out to be Sultan Ahmed. Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem is the CEO and group chairman of DP World, a Dubai-based global logistics company. He's also the chairman of the Ports, Customs, and Free Zone Corporation. Bin Sulayem's leadership has been instrumental in Dubai's growth as a global trade and commercial hub. And just to refresh your memory, I had pulled up the email here from Jeffrey Epstein to him, to the Sultan. Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video. That's 2009. 1 year after the conviction. And Sultan said, I am in China. I will be in the U.S. second week of May. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? A little more information. I wanted to pull this up. I got this from Red Pill USA on Twitter. They say, how dark is the rabbit hole? This is a little bit more context with Sultan Ahmed, who, with DP World, controls about 10% of global container shipping. That is huge. That may not register, they write here, until you hear that Representative Thomas Massey just named him as the sender of the torture video in the Epstein files. Flashback to 1982. This is pretty wild. Los Angeles authorities opened a repossessed shipping container and found over 16,000 preserved fetuses. Many of them were late-term abortions, floating in formaldehyde and dumped like trash. What a horrible thing. Shipping containers glide across oceans carrying everyday cargo, hidden secrets, and unspeakable depravity, which is true. Now, look, we don't know for certain that has anything to do with DP World, but it's certainly insight into all the crazy things that are being transported through those containers. But operating 10% of global container traffic is huge. DP World, just for a little context here, is a multinational logistics company based in Dubai. It specializes in cargo logistics, port terminal operations, maritime services, and free trade zones. It was formed in 2005 by the merger of Dubai Ports Authority and Dubai Ports International. DP Worldwide handles 70 million containers that are brought in by around 70,000 vessels annually. This equates to roughly 10%. So who knows what they're doing? Because obviously the flashback from LA that's 1982, but you look at all these people, they get shuffled around. Like going back to the Wexner thing, Wexner did Bed Bath & Beyond. He also did that Justice brand, which I remember my little sisters, I think, going to that store. It was a store I saw in the mall, a girls' clothing store. Allegedly, from what we're seeing now out of these files, is that Wexner signed over Justice to Epstein. So if that's all real, that means Jeffrey Epstein was like an owner of this little girls' clothing brand, which is... makes Forever 21 sound transhumanist, doesn't it? Not that there's any connection that I can tell, but I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, now into this. This is also fun stuff. I want you. Let's close our eyes again. While I'm reading this, I want you to imagine, picture in your mind what it looked like for those for Patel and Bongino with their bugged out, hostage-looking faces, like two little boys in the principal's office doing their interview on Fox News. Remember their eyes all bugged out. All right? Remember that while I read this. Newly released Epstein documents reveal the FBI agent purposefully removed hard drive from jail video recording system, intentionally erasing all prison footage during the time of Epstein's death. How does Bongino have a job anywhere? Well, look, Anthony Weiner has a podcast, I think. Someone gave him someone gave him a job, like through an official channel. So if that guy can get work, I'm not surprised in this demonic world that these people make lots of money and get big contracts despite being as depraved as Anthony Weiner. Yeah, like, dude, what's up with his computer? That's a massive thing. That's where Frazzle Drip originated, but yeah, this is in the justice.gov. It's in the files. Right here, we have this from March 12th, 2020, started removing the bad drives in order to rebuild the DVR, advised that an FBI agent was the one who pulled out the DVR, also advised that he knew that by replacing both hard drives, the system would be wiped, and that he had advised personnel at MCC of that. What? Now remember, let's think of Bongino, looking like RoboCop without a helmet, about on the verge of tears. It's like irrefutable evidence. You'll see that he killed himself. Cameras weren't working. The cameras were working. Not that camera. Okay, this camera was. Okay, no, that camera was, but then we deleted it. Liars. Bongino and Patel, I can't wait to see you at the Iowa State Fair. When I'm president, vote for me. We're just going to do Nuremberg trials. That's it. Then I'll dissolve the government and I'll walk away. I have this from Mario Nawfal, Elon Musk's propagandist. But anyway, I got to stop. I'm confident, this is according to the Epstein files, I'm confident this new initiative can succeed and have a huge impact on human morbidity and mortality. Back in 2012, that's a quote now, Ian Lipkin was scheduling a meeting with Jeffrey Epstein, boasting that he directs the largest and most productive center for pathogen surveillance and discovery. Fast forward 8 years and the world enters a pandemic. Let's see if I can read from this here. All right. From Ian Lipkin to 1. Jeffrey Epstein. Ellis Rubinstein tried to introduce us in October, but failed due to the complexity of coordinating 3 calendars. Again, this is 2012. I'm following up at his recommendation with the hope that we may find it easier to meet directly. I direct the largest and most productive center for pathogen surveillance and discovery. Housed at Columbia, the Center for Infection and Immunity and associated with WHO Collaborating Center is poised to expand from metagenomic and zoonotic diseases research to address the role of gene, environment, timing, interactions in neurodevelopmental, neoplastic, and autoimmune disorders. The strategies and tools needed to do this are largely the same. Thus, I'm confident this new initiative can succeed and have a huge impact on human morbidity and mortality. Please suggest a date and time we can meet to discuss your vision for basic and translational public health and see whether a collaboration makes sense. Epstein said, I will be back first week of February. Let's try to get together then. They're trying to build a fake heaven on earth to find a way to manufacture eternity, and also to kill you or to keep you subservient, to keep you enslaved to big pharma on pills, to give you a false sense of immortality. Cheap, low-class immortality, while the transhumanists govern the world, building their dystopia around every one of us. I saw this next one from Richard Willett. Shout out to Richard Willett, good guy. Supposed to do a show last year, but it didn't work out. I had like a power outage, and I got to do it. I want to have him on this show too. Willett also does a podcast with David Icke's son. Done that show. Awesome. They do a lot of great research. But this is something I had not seen. I think it's interesting. Richard wrote, Michael Bay got his break shooting commercials for Mega founder Les Wexner, who had a lot of power from Epstein. He went on to direct the film The Island about clones that were produced under the island. Jeffrey Epstein openly talks about his garbage garage biology projects in his emails and ordered 50,000 cement trucks to the island weeks before the FBI raid. That is true. I think I mentioned that last week. The above info is all true, he says, so check under the island and Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. For real. Like, what is up? So I have this email now pulled up that Richard shared. It's to Brian Bishop. It's from Jeffrey Epstein. August 5th, 2018. Attached is a doc you requested. It's the use of funds spreadsheet for the designer baby and human cloning company. This gets us out of our self-funded garage biology phase to the first live birth of a human designer baby, and possibly a human clone within 5 years. We're there. You guys are right. We're there. Once we reach the first birth, everything changes, and the world will never be the same again, much less the future of the human species. Attached doc shows 1.7 million. Next steps, I'm happy to hop on another call. So, what do you think about that? I'm just going to read some of these comments, people, because everyone's debating everything. And it's like, so someone, Mattias, responded to Richard saying the clones weren't under the island. It was a bunker off in some desert type place. The island was the fictional utopia place they would go if they won the lottery. In reality, there was no island, and the winners were the ones called up for the harvest. Pretty decent pick. So he's just giving some context to the move of the island. Now, I don't know what was going on underneath the island, but there was that weird hatch to the water. We know Ghislaine did have a license to operate submarines. We do know he filled the tunnels or whatever's going on beneath the island with cement. But I think a lot of that more cloning stuff and that garage biology was happening in Zorro Ranch, in my opinion. All right. Moving on. Get this from Inhumans of Capitalism, which is Inhumans of Late 1 on Twitter. Epstein was basically running the bio company Adidas. That's Editas, not Adidas. With eugenicist George Church. They had a freezer full of children's blood at Boston's Children's Hospital. They were working RNA viruses to shepherd gene editing into the body. Epstein was providing samples to them. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is more from the files. This is $1,000 each. Right now, I only have Jeffrey Epstein's saliva sample for sequencing. If he wants to submit the kits I provided him with, it will be $1,000 for each additional sample. I discussed with him the research significance of comparing his exome data and on blood with his fibroblast cell lines, which I already have frozen down in liquid nitro at Boston Children's Hospital. Sequencing the cell line would be an additional $1,000. I'm going to try my best to get in with this sequencing run, but because they are cells, that may be tricky. They'll be in the next round if they don't make this one. We discussed making adult stem cells from Jeffrey Epstein's fibroblast cells. If we do this, he, like George Church, would be one of the very few people in the world to have this done. With multiple cell passages, the process takes a minimum of 6 months, and there's no guarantee it will work. But the failure rate is probably around 1 in 6 or less, and even in those instances, we can still do it. It would just take more time and some additional funds for regions. Excuse me. This is pretty much at cost given the labor and regions. I only know if one commercial group providing the service, and they charge more than $10,000. So there's just one of many. They discussed this whole thing, going back and forth, having all this blood, which made me think about the 23andMe purchase. Now, that's not really Epstein related, but like honestly, Epstein is a vortex of everything that happened in the world and most conspiracies. So, like just real quickly, I just Googled 23andMe and Epstein. I'm getting better at typing and talking, sort of. My brain still shuts down, but it doesn't have to be typing to do that. Jeffrey Epstein's assistant, this is from 6 days ago on MSN.com. Jeffrey Epstein's assistant ordered so many 23andMe kits. A thread of emails from Jeffrey Epstein's former assistant, reveals that they once ordered so many DNA tests from the Bay Area biotech company 23andMe that it prompted a representative to reach out and ask for more information about their intended use. According to the exchange, around the summer of 2017, Epstein's former executive assistant Leslie Groff attempted to order over 24 DNA kits for, ready for this? Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the CEO of Dubai-based company Logistics DP World, and deliver them to Epstein's New York mansion. The order contained 30 health and ancestry service kits priced at $199 each. So that is about $6,000. Emails released by the Justice Department show all of that. The large purchase then flagged 23andMe's customer support team, which reached out with further questions. Wow. But can you imagine what those are being used for? Like, you see the things people are speculating that you're being used for people that they've been trafficking or people they've made. I mean, I don't know. It could be anything. Him cloning himself, him preparing the cloning. Get a load of this. Epstein introduced Peter Thiel and Reid Hoffman to CIA Director William Burns. Epstein appears to have been looking to set Burns up with Rothschild Bank. Burns to Epstein. Look forward to seeing you. He was an asset to every intelligence agency in the world. It wasn't just us. It wasn't just Israel. Looking forward to seeing you again. Enjoy the green blue sea in the meantime. William Burns wrote to Jeffrey Epstein. Like, what? I don't know if I pulled it up, but I also saw... Let me see real quick before I say it. But I also saw... Oh, yeah, I do have it pulled up. We'll do it next. Another Elon thing, which I think is weird. But there's a lot of back and forth here between... the CIA stuff and Epstein, which it seemed like he had a relationship with them, obviously. Yesterday I mentioned the photo we saw of Woody Allen and Epstein at some CIA headquarters. Is what it appeared to be. Check this out. From Popular Liberal. New emails confirm a deeper connection between Elon Musk and Jeffrey Epstein. It's more than friendship. Epstein directed Musk's financial moves. This is according to the emails we're seeing here from Elon and Epstein. That one's about the... just want to make sure I'm reading from all the right stuff here. Yeah. Epstein thanks him for the tour. You would have had fun at Christmas. Before I continue, just want to make sure all this is going on. What I've got pulled up here is correct. Yeah. Okay. Of course, now my computer's going to die. But get this. Epstein directed Musk's financial moves. These emails reveal Epstein specifically instructed Musk to use JP Morgan, a bank embroiled in controversy and scandal. This isn't just about banking, it's about who Musk takes orders from and what doors that opens. I agree. The emails unveil a web of Musk's elite connections, raising serious alarm bells, adding to the suspicion Musk reportedly accessed over 300 million Americans' social security numbers through illegal means to obtain voter information, which I never liked. This isn't an accident. It's a calculated move with national implications. While some support Musk as a Republican, his actual voting record tells a different story. We know this. Look, I've never been a fan of Musk. I like the idea of Doge, but I always thought him doing Doge was a way to sink his tech fangs into all of us more in our data and our privacy. He is a defense contractor. And I always can't help but think back to my time with the artist formerly known as Kanye West, Ye, and the day that we wrote that Instagram post about Elon Musk being a Chinese clone. At the time, it was just really funny, but Ye was very serious about that, and we posted it, and there's still like dozens of articles out there about that Instagram post. Because he had just been banned from Twitter by Elon, so we then used Ye's Instagram account to post that. We talked about Obama and Zuckerberg, and we called it the theory of everything. But the more I think about it, the more I'm reading with Epstein files, I'm like, it is possible that Elon was created in a lab. Like, I don't think he's a genius. I don't. I think he's a sick, sick man. You see what Grimes says about him going into demon mode? I don't doubt it. We've seen him crash out on Twitter so many times. I just look at him. But look, that's my bias. I just don't trust him. He's like, in the same way that Peter Thiel created J.D. Vance in a test tube, in my opinion, is how I feel that like Werner von Braun created Elon Musk in a test tube. These are test tube babies for the technocracy that they're trying to build around us. And they knew they had to create people that could ingratiate themselves into the dissident space that might be conservative, but also understand that the left-right thing is so fake that the left has problems, that the right has problems. But like they knew they had to get the growing dissident faction on their side, which was going to grow out of their pre-planned pandemic, to then pacify the people who would be the biggest detractors from their dystopia, which they have already implemented. And Elon's a part of that. Vance is a part of that. Vivek is a part of that. Trump is now a part of that. Maybe he's always been a part of that. Thiel, has been the biggest funder of Trump since 2015. We know Elon and Thiel are tight. PayPal mafia with Hoffman, and like as much as Musk rails against Hoffman, they're both in the files talking to Epstein, cozying up. We know Mark Andreessen and Elon are homies. Andreessen was he was part of Doge. And Hoffman and Andreessen have Forever California. They destroyed all those farmers' lives. These people hate you. I can't stress that enough. Elon is only pretending to be a human. He's only pretending to be on your side. All these people say things that are nice. Thiel says things that I can agree with. As has Musk, as has Vivek, as has Bongino. They said things, but I don't think they actually mean them. I don't think they actually mean them. I think they are nothing but liars who are looking to profit off of us to build out their dystopia and make their breakaway civilization so they can then live for much longer time and survive whatever cataclysm they'll probably create. And maybe that's where the aliens come back in. No joke, for real. What else do I have here? All right, so I told you this, Epstein and Thiel and the CIA, not a surprise to anybody. Oh, yeah, this was an interesting follow-up. The Steve Bannon stuff just gets weird to me. I think it is his accelerationism that took precedence over whatever morals he might have, and maybe that's why he had to be friends with Epstein for power and money. I don't agree with it. It's like some of these crypto guys being like, well, we had to do the fastest track and the money we needed was there. That's where we did it. No regrets. Look, man, that's on your soul. I'm not hanging out with these people. I'm not talking to these people. The moment I find out that like you're really a sick person. And it's not just because of hearsay, because this person said this person said that. Like, I don't really just like bend to hearsay, having, you know, been at the receiving end of some of it, but also being around so many people who've been on the receiving end on a much higher level. It takes more than just like rumors, you know, but like there's way too much here to deny. And I guess I lost the one thing. The one thing I had pulled up here with Bannon was like, Bannon had a lot of that sulfuric acid ordered, I guess. And I guess I lost it. But the funny thing was, Roger Stone tweeted about it and said it actually was about, I don't know if it's a joke or not, but I just thought I'd mention it because it's funny either way. Anything's possible now. But he said he wasn't doing it to dissolve bodies. He was doing it to make meth. Like, that just makes as much sense as the other one. But I also saw this from Mario Nawfal. Why were Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein emailing about the ninth circle and the gates of hell? July 2018 emails between Bannon and Epstein are cryptic and strange. Epstein wrote ninth circle. Bannon replied, abandon hope all ye who enter. I was just going to say, that's Dante's inscription at the gates of hell. If you haven't read it, highly advise it. I think we were just talking about it. I showed you my old copies of it that I collect from Dante's Inferno, from the Divine Comedy. One of the best. The ninth circle is reserved for traitors. What exactly were these two into? Let's just read from some of this. So, Jeffrey Epstein just emailed him on July 23rd, ninth circle. And then Bannon replied, abandon hope all ye who enter. And then Epstein wrote Hicks, which could be Hope Hicks. And Jeffrey responded, if you are going to play here, you'll have to spend time. Europe by remote doesn't work. Lots and lots of FaceTime and hand-holding. It sounds to me like they're talking about getting into the Trump world, right? Which he already was, but it's doable, Bannon said, but time-consuming. There are many leaders of countries we can organize for you to have one on ones. However, you will have to come stay 8 to 10 days. Then no more than 2 weeks later, the same. The fear is that you gin up their hopes and emotions and then abandon them. I think you want to be an insider, not an outsider flying in and out. Did you get the first cut of American Carnage? Okay. Do you know that's in reference to? I didn't catch that the first time I read it. Anyone know? Before I pull it up, I know. Well, I think I know. Yep. It's the speech he wrote for Trump. It's a pretty great speech. 2017, Donald Trump, inauguration speech. It's the inauguration speech, which they nicknamed American Carnage. I'm not going to read that now. I was thinking about just reading the entirety of the Unabomber Manifesto in today's episode, but maybe for another day. But, okay, reference to American Carnage, which would have been a year prior here. Or maybe there's something else Bannon did with it afterwards. Maybe he did a film about it. I'm not aware of, because he says first cut, and it's a year after, so everyone had seen it already by then. Okay. There is something, American Carnage, and it was, I think, produced here by Bannon. As violence erupts in Charlottesville, the president's unwillingness to denounce the racist hate groups presents a new test for journalists. Trump blames the failing New York Times, crooked media. Okay, I don't know if he produced it, but Bannon's in it, as far as I can tell. So is David Duke, Maggie Haberman, Dick Durbin, Paul Manafort. A lot of familiar faces. So back to that email. And then he wrote back, skipping Telluride. And then Bannon wrote, I agree 100%. How do I do that? American Carnage, amazing. And Emmanuel financed it, and he loves it. Errol's besties tell him it will end his career because he gave a platform to a monster. So that's it. We'll leave it there for today, guys. Thank you so much. Again, if you missed what I said earlier, somehow you skipped over it. If you want to call in, try to send me a message on Instagram and Twitter. We'll set a time We'll send it if we can do it during the day, and we'll record it. We'll put it together with this with an episode. It'd be great. I think what's happening is like I see people being like, well, so and so's not in here, and this is in there, and this person must be good then if they're not in it, in the files. That is, what I think we are witnessing is that there are many competing factions of death cults that operate in this world. And some of them are like the neocons, some of them are the Luciferian child eaters, but they all hate humans and they work against our best interests and they want to erase freedom. So just keep that in mind as we're moving forward through all these, that they're all, these people all seem bad to me. There's like maybe a handful of people who actually want to do what's right for America and to secure a better future for our kids, but it's a rare breed. It's very rare. But I just want to shout out Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna. Big ups to them. The president is railing against them, against Massey in particular for doing this. Egregious behavior. There's a lot of things that Trump does is just ridiculous. Very hard to support him now. This is massively important information. We should be talking about this at the highest levels. It should be trending constantly. I'm happy to see so many people talking about it and other people just making light of it, which I don't think we can do, because this, not only does it affect children, it also affects war, and the upper echelon of power and world governance. So keep that in mind, guys. I wanted to read one thing. One thing. Bear with me. I had one thing loaded up, but it's on my phone, which I am using right now to record this. And I want to get it here. I think I got it. Okay, it's got it pulled up here in the NIV version, but I want to get the ESV if I can. And why I'm doing this is I've been thinking about, like yesterday we talked about suffering and the suffering of this world and the things we're learning through all this stuff. Why are we suffering? What does it mean? I thought about my pastor recently saying in a sermon that there's value to suffering, which I believe is that it is very hard to come to terms with that. But this is from Romans 5:3. Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. Amen. Have a blessed night, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.